One tranquil afternoon on the outskirts of the forest near the Kivuli stream, a young fawn was lost. It wandered aimlessly, searching for its mother, its legs trembling and its eyes brimming with unease. A soft bleat drifted on the gentle breeze that rippled across the water. Suddenly, it stumbled into the rushing current, the cold, muddy water pulling it swiftly from the bank. It fought against the flow, its tiny legs powerless against the swirling vortex. Its eyes widened in panic, its mouth gasping for help, a desperate cry ringing out over the wind and waves. It was swallowed by the torrent, then bobbed to the surface, as if on the verge of surrendering all hope. There was no sign of its mother, only the menacing waves closing in. Panic drove it to thrash its hooves in the murky water, the current tightening its grip on its frail body. Its belly swelled with water, its ears quivering from the chill and terror. Each breath came with a struggle, choking amid an overwhelming dread. Nearly spent, it mustered one final faint call for aid. Unconsciously, a large wave surged forward, spinning its body around and drifting it toward an overhanging tree branch. But no one was there, and the little deer seemed poised to sink for the last time. On the Riverside Road, Ethan Carver was driving a convertible with his dog, named Scout. Ethan caught a faint cry carried by the rushing water. He slammed on the brakes, furrowing his brow as he scanned the area, trying to pinpoint the odd sound. Scout raised his head, ears alert, growling softly as if sensing something amiss. Ethan dashed toward the riverbank, where the water churned and clouded. He yelled loudly, "Is anyone there?" But only the water's roar replied. Scout barked sharply and bolted forward without pause. As Ethan ran, he spotted a small figure adrift in the stream's center. "Oh my goodness!" he exclaimed, his heart racing with worry. He had no time for second thoughts, his gaze fixed on the tiny creature. Scout plunged into the murky water without hesitation, swimming directly toward the fawn. He paddled with strength, water splashing on both sides, his eyes locked with resolve. The fawn still flailed desperately, unaware of its rescuer's approach. Scout drew near, stretching his neck to gently grasp the fawn's neck. The fawn flinched, its legs tensing, mistaking it for a predator's attack. But then it felt safety, free from claws or teeth. Scout turned his head, beginning to swim upstream, each movement steady and purposeful. He expertly kept the fawn's head above the surface, preventing it from choking further. Ethan waited at the bank's edge, kneeling, ready to grab them both. As they neared, Scout swam over quietly, just a few meters from safety. Ethan swiftly took the fawn from Scout's mouth and laid it gently on the damp ground. The fawn shivered, water dripping from its ears and neck. Ethan shed his jacket and wrapped it around the tiny, chilled body. Scout stood beside him, tongue lolling, panting, but his eyes still on the fawn. "It's all right, little one," Ethan murmured soothingly. He lifted it and placed it in the back seat of the green convertible, grabbing a towel from the trunk. He dried the small body section by section. Scout settled in the front seat, turning his head to watch closely, as if checking on his new companion. The fawn began to relax, breathing more steadily as it warmed up. Ethan climbed into the car, started the engine, and headed back home with a firm resolve. Ethan's cozy wooden cabin sat amid a lush, grassy hill near the woodland. He laid out a warm towel for the fawn to rest on in the living room beside the fireplace. Scout lay nearby, never taking his eyes off it, as if guarding the little creature. Ethan fed the fawn warm milk from a bottle and gently stroked its forehead. The fawn gazed at him, its eyes softening with each tender touch. The next day, it managed to stand, taking tentative steps in the backyard. Ethan named it Speckles for the adorable white spots on its back. Speckles began to trail Scout around the yard, curious about everything nearby. Scout patiently taught Speckles to sniff, dig, and listen to birds. Ethan took them for morning walks in the nearby park, where townsfolk smiled at Scout and Speckles frolicking in the grass. Speckles would sometimes nestle in Ethan's arms when the afternoons turned chilly. The trio formed an unusual yet perfect family. Scout no longer growled or scanned the area, but stayed close to Speckles like a big brother. Ethan knew this bond was real, and that the day of parting would arrive. After 2 weeks, Ethan realized it was time to help Speckles find her mother. He studied a map of the Kivuli stream, marking spots where the mother deer might be. One sunny morning, Ethan loaded Speckles and Scout into the car and drove back to the old stream. Speckles was quiet, her ears twitching, as if listening for a familiar sound. When they reached the riverbank that day, Ethan turned off the engine and opened the door for Speckles to step out. Scout sniffed around eagerly, while Ethan searched the forest for any signs. Suddenly, from a distance, a large deer stood still at the forest's edge, not fleeing. It was a doe with round, hopeful eyes. Speckles froze for a moment, then dashed toward her. Ethan held his breath while Scout sat still, watching Speckles' every move. Speckles ran over, paused briefly, then pressed her head against the doe's side. The mother deer licked Speckles' head gently, shuddering slightly as if confirming her presence. Ethan watched the reunion, tears welling in his eyes, his heart swelling with joy. Scout barked softly as if bidding farewell. Ethan sighed, smiled, and nodded. "We did the right thing, Scout." Speckles turned to glance at Ethan and Scout one last time, her eyes brimming with gratitude and longing. Ethan waved and said, "Go live as a true wild deer." The mother deer led Speckles into the woods, their figures fading behind the thick trees. Ethan and Scout returned to the car, the sunlight dancing on the calm stream. A new chapter had closed, filled with kindness, hope, and a friendship beyond boundaries. Dear friend, thank you for taking the time to follow the story. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to support us.